Drum roll, and we're live. Yay! It worked. I'm always excited when it works. Yay! Oh, welcome to TCA Live. This is the live Q&A for the Confidence Academy podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, hello to you guys too. I always wave at you guys and you don't know because you're listening, but still, people that were watching this, you saw me wave. And I am joined by the beautiful Hyacinth and Ava. They were my guests this week on the podcast, and they are joining me for this live Q&A. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Lily. Really excited to be here.
Me too.
So cool. I just said we look a bit like a singing group, or like we look like we're going to do one of those 3-part harmony things, or like, I don't know. Ava looks like she could break out into a beatbox at any moment, and we were going to try some like ABBA head movements or something, but we'll just see where we go with this. But we are here today to talk about, well, we're going to ask the question each week on TCA Live. We ask a question. This week we are asking, what does it mean to be resilient? And I'm thinking you ladies might have an answer for me, given that you've written 2 books during lockdown. And if Hyacinth does a little cock of the head, then we can see those books peeking out from behind her head. Other way, there they are. And Ava's just going to hold them up. There's always that as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So for anybody who's watching this, either live or on the replay, if you haven't yet listened to the episode on the podcast, Hyacinth and Ava came together during, was it the first lockdown? To write these books. So they've co-authored 2 books. I mean, the amount of time they spent writing on a daily basis blew my mind when you told me that. But these books are, I mean, it's just the perfect subject to be writing about during lockdown. And it occurred to me, I was thinking about this today, and the fact that I think a lot of people maybe feel, I think resilience is a bit like confidence. I think a lot of people maybe feel like they're not resilient because they, I don't know, have a reaction to something that's possibly happened to them. And I loved where our conversation went in the episode was really when you need to be resilient, you dig deep and you find it, right? You have no choice. And I think, Hyacinth, you were sharing a story of yours that, you know, you learned to be resilient, or you learned that you could be resilient because there was no choice in that moment. So I would love to pose this question to both of you for you to answer. What does it mean to be resilient as far as you're concerned? Hyacinth, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, do you know what, Lily? One word comes to me, and we've incorporated it in our first book, and that's bounce back ability. I don't know if I've made that up, Lily, but it feels that's what it is. Like,
sounds like a legit word to me.
Bounce back ability. So our first book was called Bouncing Back, 107 Tips to Become More Resilient. And it's really about if something goes wrong, not to plan, unanticipated, it's your ability to look at that situation, identify solutions, be persistent, don't give up, bounce back ability.
Love a bit of that. Love bounce back ability. I love any words that sound made up, but they're not. I actually called a client wisdomous the other day.
Wisdomous. I like that.
I was like, I don't think wisdomous is a word. I'm sure I've heard someone say it. I think it was on Big Brother or something. Somebody once was like, oh, you're very wisdomous. And I was like, that is a brilliant word. I will never forget it. Ava, what does it mean to be resilient?
Well, I'm going to build on top of what Hyacinth have said, and I'm going to add the word flexibility. So in order to bounce back, to have that ability to bounce back, we need to be flexible. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe that we can do it, because no matter what life throws at us, if we look back at our past, we'll look at how actually we have overcome so many hardships, so many obstacles in the past, so we can absolutely overcome the next ones that come along. So it's really about, there's an obstacle, how are we going to tackle it? Are we going to go over it? Are we going to go around it? Are we going to wiggle through it? There are so many different options, and having the flexibility to perhaps err away from our planned path to go around that or overcome it and then go back to the direction that we want to go to.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I love that you said about the plan. I've said that this has come up a few times recently where I've said trying to make a plan in life is like trying to write a birth plan. It's completely pointless. Like nobody's going to look at it. When the shit hits the fan, no one's looking at that birth plan, right? They're just going to deliver the baby. And it's the same with life. I think, it's nice to have these ideas, but I think so often we get trapped by these ideas as well. We get so trapped in our idea of how something is supposed to be. And I think, what's been very, very obvious in the last 12 months or so is suddenly everybody has had that experience of, oh, well, I had a plan and now that's not happening, and really, I mean, that's the first time that's ever happened in my lifetime and in generations even before that, and the funny thing was, like, this is what I noticed last year. Everybody reacted to that in a different way, but the large majority of people really reacted badly to this, like, what do you mean I can't leave my house? What do you mean that I can't go to the supermarket? What do you mean I have to wear a mask? Or like, resistance. And I love what you just said about challenges as well. I think it's definitely a mindset. Yes, you're going to decide whether to go under, over, through. I also think how you view that challenge or that block can make a world of difference. Because if you see a challenge as a block, then you're saying that that's a wall that's come up against you and you're just banging your head on it, and that's going to make you feel stuck. But if you saw that instead as a block to climb onto, then suddenly that something can elevate you. It has the power to elevate you. And so, you could have two people with the same situation and one of them just keeps running into the block going, oh, I'm stuck, oh, I'm stuck, oh, I'm stuck. While the other one is just going, well, yeah, I reckon if I could shimmy up the side of that, I can get on top of it. And now I've got a different view as well from up there, And so many people, I think, in lockdown were in that resistance for a very long time. And this is what I mean about resilience, because I think possibly, I might be wrong, but I think resilient people, or people who knew they were resilient, or people that have already had to overcome, blocks in the road, changes to their plan or whatever, they were the people who very quickly just went, is what it is. Cool. I'll move my business online then, I'll get a different job then. I'll homeschool my kids then. And if I don't know how, then I'll learn. And those people thought like that. The people who did not know they were resilient yet fought and fought and fought. But I think eventually everybody went through that same funnel. Eventually everybody was like, meh, is what it is. Because there's no choice.
I think eventually most of us decided that this is the situation we find ourselves in. What is the best way through, round, over the situation? Can I just say, this is just real life. Someone's knocking at my front door.
Who is it?
I'm going to go and answer.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's like Ant and Dec. It's like Ant and Dec's Saturday night takeaway.
We want to know what you're getting. By the way, I have a little story to tell you about resilience.
I would love to hear it. Well, hit me.
And that is, the other day, I had finished my work. It was a beautiful sunny day. And I was like, I'll go to the bakery and I'll get some lovely fresh bread and maybe a brownie, because that's what I like. So I was very chirpy mood, wonderful. I stepped out, I closed the door behind me. I walked one step and then I thought, can you guess what happened? I locked myself out.
Yeah.
I locked myself out. And my partner was away until the end of the week. So,
oh no.
And we hadn't thought of a spare key alternative plan yet. So I was like, okay, let's look at the bright side here. It's sunny, it's not raining, number one. Number two, not ideal, but I do have my phone and some money with me, so thank God for that.
Yeah.
Now the cons are I don't have any other windows open or back doors, so that's not possible. So I called up my partner. I went to the people selling keys and stuff, and they said, call the locksmith. So plan A, call the locksmith. Plan B, get the bus over to my partner, or he drives back and gives me his key, right? So at least I made a plan. I was fine. And in the time between when the locksmith came, which I wasn't happy about, the aftermath of the locksmith, but at least I got back in. So the final story, it has a good ending. But in between them, I was like, well, I'm going to solve this problem. I know it's going to get solved one way or another. So you know what I did? Because it was sunny, I sat out a cafe. I got myself a hot chocolate, I put the music on, and I just enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
In between the time that I had to wait.
Such a good point. So many times we go to panic, don't we? Like, you know, if something changes, and I mean, that's a confronting situation. I actually did the same thing. It was only last week or the week before. I was getting all my kids in the car. Now, if you can just picture this, right? Me in the mornings, I have a 3-year-old to get to nursery. I have an 8-year-old, and I have a possibly autistic 9-year-old who doesn't want to get up, who never sleeps at night. So he's always tired. So I come in and out of the house, I would say approximately 779 times any morning, like before we get to leave. And I was in and out, and I'm like out with the 3-year-old, and then I'm back in, and I'm like, right, 8-year-old, you have to go and sit with the 3-year-old while I get the 9-year-old out, because he's in the top of the house and it's going to take me a while. So then Freddie was like, I don't have my hat and I need my jumper, and like in and out, in and out, in and out. Anyway, in the process of running in and out, I must have picked up the keys. In all my wisdom, I still don't know why. I was not wisdomous in that moment because I picked up my keys and took them back in the house, left them up in my son's room, got everybody out, shut the door, went to drive, and was like, where's the keys then? And I was like, who's got the keys? And I'm like, Louis, do you have the keys? He was like, no. And I'm like, are you sure? Because it seems like something you would do, because he doesn't like to get to school on time. He always likes to be late. And I'm like, mate, if you've got my keys, you have to tell me. Anyway, no, completely locked out. Luckily had my phone, but that was it. You know, even their school bags were still in the house because, you know, my husband was like, we'll just walk them. I was like, I would, but I have nothing. And also, like, the 3-year-old's nursery isn't a walk away. So many times we go to panic, though, don't we? When those situations happen, something in our head just goes, that's not what I planned. So therefore, this is terrible. And so I'm just going to panic. I distinctly remember once, have you ever done this, where you've woken up in the morning and like, say you're supposed to be at work at 9 and you've woken up and it's like 9:15, and just that sheer panic, like you're just staring at the clock going, you can't be 9:15, like make it different. And it's not. And it, like, I do remember that once, and I literally, I think I almost made a conscious decision, right, before I do anything else, I'm going to have a good panic for about a minute. And I just run around the house going, no. And then there comes, it's just that point where it's like, you have to figure this out, right? You were locked out of your house. You have to figure this out. And we were locked down. We were all locked down. This wasn't going anywhere. No amount of money or persuasive behavior, like the things that might normally work for people in life, were not going to work. It was what it was, you know. And, you know, some people sort of dealt with that by having an outpouring of, I don't know, anger about the way that the government was dealing with it, or like whatever. You could see this, couldn't you? You could just see that it was really just panic and it was being misdirected. But at the end of the day, when all of that happened, all of that ended, then you deal with it. And so something I've learned to do, which I guess is really resilient, is I recognize very quickly when I'm getting into that panic place. And then I go, right, I'm just going to get to the other bit faster because I could panic for a week and this situation will still be the case. You know, I'm still faced with this. And I do work with people like this in my business sometimes, people who had a plan, were on path. I mean, I'm a spiritual purpose coach. I work a lot with people finding their purpose, but in a lot of cases, the people I'm working with had a purpose. They had their life, and then something blindsided them. They got super sick and couldn't work anymore. They had a traumatic accident and, you know, got paralyzed, so couldn't do their job anymore, or couldn't drive anymore, or, you know, a partner left, or like something huge happened. And this isn't to say don't process your feelings around this, but it's like at some point recognizing that that element will end and then you'll figure it out. And I think resilience is, for me, resilience is just getting to that bit faster. I think of Chandler in Friends when Joey's trying, like, Joey's a bit slow, isn't he? And he's waiting for Joey to catch up, and he's like, get there faster. Like, that's it, isn't it? Resilience is like, just get there faster. Recognize that this is what's happened. Eventually you're going to get to the point where you figure it out. So let's get to that point.
I tell you what comes up for me when you say that, Lily.
It's
about making a decision to get to that point more quickly. So I really get that we go into panic mode sometimes. And if we're consciously aware in that moment, actually, oh, this is how I panic. This is what I do when I feel anxious. Okay, just notice that. The next question in a few moments' time is, well, what can I do to move myself forward? What actions do I need to take? What thoughts do I need to think? Who can support? Who can help me? And I'm not saying that in a way to say that's always easy. I'm saying that even when it's not easy, it's a process that we can engage with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd like to add something to that, which is
do it.
That while this process becomes faster as we practice it, it's also worth to think for ourselves within that process that there's no need to rush, and that I can take my time to solve this problem, depending on the circumstance, of course.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I feel rushed and put pressure on myself, I might make some decisions I regret. I might act impulsively. So when I'm thinking what Hyacinth said, what can I do in this situation? Already I'm slowing it down and looking at, all right, so I'm lowering my emotional level and I'm increasing my rational level where I can think logically, what's the next best step? Not rushing into it. I'm looking at all my options and where possible, taking the time to choose the best option in that circumstance. That's what I would add.
I think I agree with that for sure. And I think that is actually a great question for anyone who's, whether your anxiety is as a result of something like a pandemic or something that's happened, or whether your anxiety, or whatever name you want to give it, is just something that you live with day to day. That question, what can I do? Because when you're in that state, you're constantly seeing what you can't do. You're constantly seeing what isn't possible. You're constantly seeing what can't happen. And it sounds so simple, but just saying to yourself, so what can you do then? What can you do in this moment right now? Let's do that. And sometimes that's just take a breath in and out, right? Sometimes breathing is all you can do. I feel led to ask a question, and I don't know why I'm being led to ask this. I can only assume that someone that's going to watch this replay or listen to this is going to need me to ask this question because it's coming through like a channeled question.
Bring it on.
And I'm going to try and articulate this. I hope I ask it in the right way. Is there ever a time when being resilient is not the right thing to do? Let me expand on it a bit. So I know, as a mum who has her own business, who takes a lot on, I have learned to be resilient like a boss. Like if they were giving out resilience medals, I reckon me and so many other women like me would be first in line to get one. I do think, though, sometimes my knee-jerk reaction to resilience sometimes means that I don't ask for help when I need it, and I don't allow myself to be supported. So I would love to know what you think about that. Is there ever a time where resilience is not the answer? And I'd just love to know what your take is on that question, if I've made sense.
Yeah. I want to push back to you a little bit, Lily, just to get a little bit more clarification. So you're saying that, you can be resilient like a boss just because of your life circumstances currently. And so you may not ask for help. In that moment, are you making a decision not to ask for help, or you're just not asking for help?
So let me tell you where that question came from. This is like a long thread, but I saw a video today by a lady called Laura Cleary. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's
I know her. Yeah, love her.
She's amazing, like hilarious comedian on Instagram, Facebook. But she also shares a lot about her journey. Now, she's got a background in substance abuse, depression, anxiety. And she posted a very raw video yesterday, 4 minutes long. She's just had her baby 5 weeks ago, and she was just in floods of tears. And she was just saying, I don't know why I feel so sad. I can't talk to my friends because I don't think that they feel the same. And all I can do is shoot this video, and I don't even know if I'm going to post it. And as I was watching it, I remembered that I made a video the same last August, and I never did post it. And I was in the depths of every grief, depression, the lot, because of the pandemic, yes, but I also lost one of my best friends last March, and then the effects of the pandemic as well. Like everything felt like I couldn't cope. And I just felt compelled to watch this video today. And it was a video of me. I just pressed record. I was in the kitchen. I'm crying. I'm doing the washing up. My kids are crying, screaming, arguing. It's just, you can just feel the heaviness of the situation. And I'm talking to the camera and I'm saying, I don't know if I'll ever share this, but talking seems to help. And I'm talking about how I really feel, and I'm being very vulnerable. And I watched myself on that video today slowly suck it all back in. Like it was like a big release, and then it was like back in again. And I don't know, if I'm being really honest, and I do try to be, I don't know that I dealt with all of those things that were truly bothering me. I just think so to answer your question, I don't know if that answers your question, but yes, I do think it's a decision from a place of, I don't know if I can energetically deal with this right now. I don't even know what to ask for. So I'll give it a little voice and then I'll lock it away. Does that help?
I want to offer a reframe.
Yeah.
Because I would say to you, what you did on that day in your kitchen was an act of resilience, was an act of bounce back ability, if you like. Because what are you doing? You're externalizing that which is within that needs to be externalized.
Yeah.
You know that saying, it's better out than in. And that person that you referenced on the video today, she needed to externalize an act of resilience. What are other acts of resilience? Journaling.
Yeah.
A woman called Jackie Holder is quite prolific in this area. If something is going on inside you and you really don't know how to articulate, you don't know how to articulate it to friends, might not even know how to articulate it, down a camera. If you can just write it down, forget about, complete sentences, proper English or whatever language it is that you use, but you can write down what it is that you're experiencing, what it is that you're feeling. And I think that's a defiant act of resilience, because it's taking you to the next level. It's taking you to the next step.
Yeah.
What I was thinking, Lily, when you were talking about your experience, and I love your reframe, by the way, Hyacinth. I love your reframe. And I was thinking about it in terms of what is resilient, what is not resilience, right? So resilience is not accommodating everyone and everything all the time. Resilient is not saying yes to everything that comes your way because you feel like you have to. Resilience is not being ready for action all the time. We talked about what you can do being a way to be resilient, but it's also okay to take a break from that, to take a breather, to say, well, today I'm not going to do anything because I'm just going to stay under my duvet because I need to rest, and I'm going to take care of it tomorrow. It's okay. Resilience doesn't mean go it alone all the time because, you're strong. It also means being vulnerable, like you said. So I think it helps to look at what resilience is not, as well as what resilience might be also, like Hyacinth pointed out.
And I do think it's almost a superpower, isn't it, that we've got, that, going back to how we started this conversation, it's a superpower we all have, and we don't all know we have it. And that's a great example, because I was watching that video earlier of the one that I'd made, and I remembered how heavy everything felt there. But do you know what? There were so many elements in that moment that were weighing on me that I truly didn't have control over. I truly couldn't control. I had no control over the fact that I'd lost my friend. I had no control over the fact that there was a global pandemic and that elements of my business couldn't run the way I wanted them to run. I'd really underestimated the power of being with my choir every week, for example, in person. And so when that was taken away like that, and I think a lot of people had this, it wasn't even something that I realized I needed until I couldn't have it anymore. Like that saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And I always knew that I loved it, but I'd completely underestimated how much of a break that gave me every week, leaving my house, you know, putting my mum coat up on the hook. I don't have a mum coat, but you know what I mean? Like not being mum for 2 hours, really very childish with a bunch of other adults that wanted to be childish in a room, because that's how we roll in my choir. It's complete shenanigans from start to finish, you know, and because it's fun and because it's silly, it's easy to overlook the power of it. And, you know, I was watching that video earlier and thinking, God, you know, a lot of the things that felt so heavy were not things I could control. And so I guess in that moment, what I could control was how I channeled that energy. And so rather than internalizing it, I poured it out onto a video, because I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, this might help someone one day. And now we're talking about it. So I was right, you know, because now it's been useful. I still don't know if I will ever publish that video, but I think in that moment, I wanted to highlight how friggin' hard it is to be a mum sometimes, when, you know, I had 3 small people that were all having their own emotions, big emotions they couldn't deal with. And you saw it on the video over and over again, little outpouring for me, then had to zip it back up because somebody else needed me. And I think so many of us as humans have to deal with that, not just mums, but as human beings, because we feel like we're not responsible for other people, but we want to be. You know, we want to be containers for our friends. We want to be there for our partners and for our children and co-workers or whoever it might be, or even clients, right? And I think so many times we are being called to press pause, or we feel like we have to press pause on how we're feeling. And I love that you mentioned journaling, Hyacinth, because actually that's been a huge part of my journey since diagnosis with anxiety. Journaling was something that for me, because I don't always want to tell someone what's going on. I'm very masculine, I think, in the way that if I'm going to tell you my problem, it's because we're going to find a solution. And sometimes there's no solution. Sometimes you've just got to get it out. Like you said, better out than in, you know?
I agree. There's always a way. There's always a way to move forward, I think. And sometimes, as Ava said, that might be taken to your bed. That might be a duvet day. That might be the kindest thing that you can do for yourself that day until you can get up the next day and press on.
I've done that. I've literally done that. You know, and even from that place of, you know, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxious. So I could sing, or I could play my favorite music, or I could work out, or I could go for a drive, I could go for a walk, I could journal, I could write poetry, I could do all these things. But no, right now I'm going to sit in my bed and I'm going to have a good cry. And then in an hour, maybe I'll feel like doing something else. And it's giving yourself permission to make that decision. And also re-empowering yourself. So many people feel powerless to it, to whatever the big dark cloud is that's following them around. They feel powerless to it. And the truth is, you're not. You always have a choice. And even if you're choosing to fall apart in that moment, there's nothing wrong with falling apart, because you're never truly falling apart. You are never truly disconnected, and you are never truly without support and without help. And as far as moving forward goes, plenty of times we can feel like we're stuck, but you never are, because you took another breath in and another breath out. The world kept turning, time kept ticking by. It continues to move even if you don't want it to. You know, I think of have you seen that film, The Life of Brian? It's a Monty Python film. It's so funny.
I think so.
It's brilliant.
I've not seen it.
Oh my God, it's brilliant. So there's a bit in that movie where there's a guy who's blind, and he's walking through a little town, And all of a sudden, this big surge of people come up behind him, and he doesn't know because obviously he can't see. And he just starts walking along because they're just pushing him. And it's such a funny scene, just the way that it plays out. But I think that's life. Like, we feel like we're like lost in the dark, and we can't see, and we don't know what we're doing. Life just gently nudges you along anyway. It just nudges you along anyway. And you know, this is a great quote as well, or a great thing to bring yourself back to. Anytime that you're feeling, anytime you're aware that you're telling yourself a bunch of things that don't feel good, you can ask yourself, is this ultimately true though? So when you tell yourself, I'm stuck, I can't move forward, like I'm completely trapped, you know, any version of that, is that ultimately true though? Because it never is. It's never ultimately true. It might feel true in the moment, but you're looking at it through your current lens, through your current circumstances, from your current perspective as the human that you are. Is it ultimately true? Well, if it was ultimately true, it would be true for everybody. Is it ultimately true that everybody that ever got stuck never got unstuck? No, the opposite is true. There are stories all over the place, all around the world, from people that said, I hit rock bottom and I didn't think I could get back up, and then I got back up. You know, your books are a prime example of this. You literally wrote it from a global pandemic. You had to find your like your books are a physical representation of what it is to be resilient, because it's like, look, I could sit and be beaten by this, or I could write some books and help some people. You know, that's resilience.
We've had some great feedback about the books, about how they've really supported people's journey during this lockdown. There's something in there for everyone, to be honest with you. You know, if you're feeling a little bit low and you want a quote, or if you're feeling like you want some affirmations to help drive you, all of that is in there. If you want some activities to do on any given day, and one of the activities might be, you know, just write out how you're feeling. Spend 5 minutes writing down how you feel. There's something in both of our books for everyone, I would say.
And I want to say something about affirmations for a minute, actually, because I think so often when you're dealing with something heavy like anxiety, stress, depression, anything like that, you're looking for something that you can do that's going to help you, and that's going, you want something to change whatever it is you're going through. And I think so often people will see affirmations and they're like, but what's that going to do? Like, so what? So I read a quote. So what? Do you know what it does? It plants something in your brain. So even if I don't know a lot about how the brain works, but there's the conscious part of your brain, which is where your monkey mind lives. It's where that horrible voice that tells you look fat in your trousers or whatever, that's that voice. But you've got this whole vast subconscious as well. And there is just this little, it just takes a tiny little suggestion of an affirmation or of a positive quote, and it can just start doing its work. You're not always going to feel it. So sure, you're not going to say an affirmation and suddenly be cured of all your anxiety. But what you will find is you will start to think differently. And the more you use affirmations, the more you write them out. I love intention setting as well, like writing affirmations as intentions over and over and over and over again, mixing up what I wish was true with what's already true, because your brain never can tell the difference anyway. It's all energy, right? And so to anybody that's watching this or listening to this, and I can see we've got viewers on, hello if you're live with us, to anyone watching this going, but what, you know, really, what does an affirmation do? It does a hell of a lot more than you could ever probably consciously understand. And all I'm going to say is don't knock it till you've tried it, because affirmations have pulled me out of so many holes I can't even tell you.
I've got one for you. I just opened the book randomly to chapter 166. And the affirmation, funnily enough, is I remain calm in a storm.
That, I mean, that's the perfect example, right? If you were losing your shit, like losing your mind, going, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Panic attack. And you picked up this book and you opened it up and it's telling you something in your soul knows the truth of it, even if your brain can't comprehend it, right? Something in your soul knows the truth of it, and it calms you from your soul on a soul level. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Someone said, hey, we can't see your name, but hey, because I'm on StreamYard. I'll have to get on Facebook and see. Just tell everybody what your books are again, in case they haven't heard the original episode. Just let us know what your books are called and where they can get them if they would like to.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
do you want to go, Hyacinth?
Yeah, the first book is called Bouncing Back, 107 Tips to Become More Resilient. And that's on Amazon.
And the second one is called My Little Book of Resilience, 365 Daily Inspirations, also on Amazon.
Love that. And we'll put that in the show notes. If you're listening on the podcast, then we'll put that in the show notes as well. Now, we've got an exciting announcement, haven't we, ladies?
Yes.
Which it won't be much of a surprise if you've heard the episode, because this was kind of birthed live on the episode when we chatted last time. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could do a 30-day challenge? So Hyacinth, do you want to say more about what we're planning to do in June?
Absolutely. So Ava has been wonderfully holding up our book. We're going to use our book, My Little Book of Resilience, as the baseline for our challenge. Now, you join us for 30 days. On each of those days, we're going to send you information about a particular page or topic. So let's say, for example, we picked on 165. Ask for what you want. You're going to have the information about what the quote is. You're going to have some information about an activity that we want you to do on that particular day, and it will offer you a affirmation, and we can ask you to undertake those activities and provide us with some feedback. And there's a special prize for people that stay the 30 days, that engage every day for the 30 days. We can say more when we get to get closer to the time.
Yes, because this is just a teaser, you guys. And I just want to say, this is such an amazing topic for a 30-day challenge, which is what, that's what came to me, because for anyone watching or listening that doesn't already know, I felt guided at the start of this year to undertake, initially one 30-day challenge. And then I thought, if I kept doing these challenges, where would I be at the end of the year? If I've spent the whole year challenging myself, because that's the thing. It's like I said, we're in our perception, we're having our experience. It can feel very, very, what's the word? Convincing that, the stories that we tell ourselves or the things that we think are real, it's very easy to say, well, what difference is that going to make? Well, let me tell you, so far I've done a 30-day abundance challenge. I'm not kidding you. In that time, I manifested £5,000 and bought myself a new car when my car had just died. And I had no idea how that was going to happen. No idea. So 30-day abundance challenge. I did a 30-day meditation challenge in March. And that blew open my third eye. I thought I was going to do meditation and just feel a bit calmer. And I did feel calm, but it blew open my third eye. My channeling went nuts. My VA couldn't keep up. I was just like, she now has a Google Doc that I just bung all this stuff in. And then she's flinging out Instagram quotes on the daily. We do daily emails now because there was so much coming through. All I'm going to say is, if you challenge yourself for 30 days to do anything, even that, you'll have, back to that plan thing, you'll think, I'll do a resilience challenge for 30 days. And maybe I'll be a bit more resilient. You don't even know what will come out of 30 days of doing this work.
Absolutely. I mean, we're really excited to have people join us on this program and really just notice how resilient you are on day 1 compared to day 30. I mean, it's going to be life-changing.
Yeah. And I want to encourage people to do this because there are so many things in self-development, so many people talking about, do your affirmations, do your meditations, do this, do that. And it's very easy to read these stories or hear these stories and go, nah, bullshit, there's no way. So challenge yourself then. 30 days, right? We genuinely want to know where you're at the start and then where you're at the end.
Yeah.
I'm doing the challenge. You can follow me on Instagram if you don't already. I'll be uploading every day to my stories. I fell down this month. I didn't pick one in time. So I'm sort of doing abundance again, but I haven't been updating anything. So like, you know, I've given myself the month off, 30 days of chilling. Let's say it's that. But I'll be back. I will be back in June for 30 days of resilience. I can't wait. I love to challenge myself.
Perfect.
And I'm inviting everyone to join me. So follow me on Instagram, but get signed up. We'll put links in the show notes. Grab yourself the book and follow along. Sign up, get the prompts, and be honest. Check in with yourself. How do you feel at the start? Why do you want to do a resilience challenge? Like, you might want to do it because you don't think you have resilience. Maybe you think you are resilient and you want to be more resilient, or you just want to, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Put yourself through the challenge and then open your mind, because literally anything could happen. I'm excited.
It will be epic.
It will be epic. I can't wait.
Do you know what you want to do, those people that are going to join us? Think about what changes you want to make in your life. And this resilience challenge will support you in those changes.
Yeah. Boom. What more could you want? I love this. So we will put all of the links in the show notes for you to get involved. We'll put the links to the books as well. If you haven't already listened to the full episode with these gorgeous ladies, go and listen to it now. It came out today. We changed things up this week. You know, I don't like to be boring. Who wants to put an episode out every Monday like it's predictable? I dropped it today. We're on tonight. That's how we roll. This is how I love to do it. I said to someone earlier, I think it's hilarious that the universe gave me a son that has autistic tendencies because they need structure, and I'm the least structured person I know. It's just like, it's some, you know, I think the universe is just laughing at us at this point, but still, it was an amazing episode. This has been an amazing chat as well. So if anybody's got any questions, if you're listening to this on replay, watching this on replay, and you have questions, ladies, you're now in the Facebook group, aren't you? So people can just tag you in there with questions. You can tag me as well. I want to know what you took from this episode, what you took from the other episode as well. Questions, comments, like, subscribe, review, I don't know, plant a flag, whatever you want to do. We want all of the things.
Ask us anything.
Ask us anything. And we can come back and answer. Just tag us in the group and we'll keep that conversation going. Fabulous. Ladies, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
That was superb. Thank you so much.
Been lovely.
So welcome. To everyone listening, remember, confidence is yours as soon as you choose it. I'll be back again next week. Might be Monday, might not be. You'll have to fly by the seat of your pants and wait to find out. But I will be back and I will see you then. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.